Yeah, I think I'll call upon the next speaker here. Latest trends in treatment of retinoblastoma. Dr. Mritika Sen, please. It's over to
Thank you,
you.
sir. Thank you, sir. I'll just start sharing my screen. Thank you very much, Dr. Malik and Dr. Marathi, for giving me this opportunity to present in this forum and AIOS, of course. And I would like to thank my mentor, Dr. Santosh Runawar, for giving me this opportunity and for teaching me everything that I'll be presenting today. So I'll be talking about the latest trends in and the recent advances in retinoblastoma and its management. Well, the management of retinoblastoma has undergone a dramatic change from a mortality rate of 98% to current survival of more than 98%. So it is one of the most gratifying cancers to treat. Now, like any other cancer, the primary goal here is to save the life of the child. This is followed by organ salvage and an attempt to save the function, which is vision here. So now classification of any disease is important to prognosticate the disease. And for this we need, so we have the grouping as well as the staging. For grouping, we follow the international grouping of intraocular retinoblastoma. It is logical and simple and can be applied easily. And this basically predicts the eye salvage. Similarly, we have the International Retinoblastoma Staging System. This is important to determine life salvage. Now, till stage 3, the life salvage is excellent, more than 95%. But once the disease moves on to stage 4, the prognosis is quite poor, less than 4%. And this is where we should stop the transformation and detect it early and manage it better. So what is new in the classification? Well, we have, like the other cancers, the AJCC 8th edition, and here retinoblastoma is the only cancer to have the addition of the age factor, which is the heritability. Okay, now coming to the management, we'll start with focal therapy. Focal therapy is used for smaller lesions. Basically, we have cryotherapy, laser photocoagulation, and TTT. TTT has, in fact, taken over the role of most of the things, including photocoagulation and cryotherapy. But what is new here is TTT plus or ICG enhanced TTT. This is recommended for recurrences which are over scarred retina because it improves the uptake of the semiconductor diode laser. This is another such example where a macular tumor was treated effectively with ICG enhanced TTT. Now, plaque brachytherapy is not new. It has been used specifically for failures following chemotherapy as well as recurrences. We have iodine as well as ruthenium plaque. But what has changed are the indications. We have the notch plaque, which is now available. We have the notch plaque, which is now available, and that is useful in treating juxtapapillary lesions without damage to the optic nerve. So this is one such example where a macular tumor regressed beautifully following plaque brachytherapy. Another example where the child had a stable mixed regression 3 years after plaque brachytherapy. Now, BARC has made from radioactive ruthenium waste the ruthenium plaque in India, and it is available in both the round as well as the notch form. And what is important is that the cost is less than 5% of the imported plaque, which dramatically improves the availability and accessibility. So focal therapy definitely optimizes vision. In the near future, what can we expect? Well, there is transscleral strontium radiation, and we have the chemoplaque. The chemoplaque is already under trial in Canada, and this is going to be basically a sustained release epibulbar topotecan device, which can be kept for 6 to 8 weeks. It's not really focal therapy, but it will be a sustained form of chemotherapy provided locally. Now, it is chemotherapy that has brought about a paradigm change in the outcome of retinoblastoma. In 1996, in the Archives of Ophthalmology, 4 landmark papers were published describing the role of chemoreduction in retinoblastoma. Now, what we follow here, this is the standard doses which have been shown here. We use 3 drugs, vincristine, etoposide, and carboplatin, every 3 to 4 weeks. Now, with chemotherapy, we are actually able to go back in time and shrink the tumor effectively so that focal therapy can be added to it. So this was another big tumor overlying the macula, but following chemotherapy, we have smaller scars which can be treated with focal therapy. Similarly, when we give chemotherapy, this is another example where this big tumor shrinks towards its blood supply and frees up the fovea as well as the optic disc, thereby improving the visual salvage. Now, this is not something new, but sometimes when we have a recurrence, even if it is this small, which can be easily treated with focal therapy, but look at its location, it's situated right over the fovea. Here, we reinitiated intravenous chemotherapy, not for 6 cycles, but just for 3 cycles. And here we have a very good regression with salvage of vision. So intravenous chemotherapy still remains the standard of care in developing countries, including India. But 25 years down the line from the time that those articles were published, today chemotherapy includes this entire spectrum. And beyond standard chemotherapy, we have high-dose chemotherapy, neoadjuvant and adjuvant chemotherapy. Now, intra-arterial chemotherapy is the standard of care in the West. This is here, the interventional neuroradiologist, he gets us access to the ophthalmic artery and we are able to deliver the drug without the side effects of systemic chemotherapy. So what is new here is the 3-drug protocol with topotecan, melphalan and carboplatin, and this allows fewer number of cycles and better outcome, plus we can reduce the dose of melphalan. So in our series, we had very good outcome, 100% eye salvage in group B and C, but this was similar to intravenous chemotherapy, where intra-arterial chemotherapy scores is in advanced retinoblastoma, group D and E. We had 92% eye salvage with group D and 54% in group E, which is definitely better than intravenous chemotherapy in such cases. So also intra-arterial can be used for residual tumors following intravenous chemotherapy and for recurrences with an eye salvage of 96%. Now, tandem intra-arterial chemotherapy, that is bilateral intra-arterial chemotherapy, is performed routinely in the West, but here also we are doing it. This was a case of a bilateral recurrence in a child, which was treated with tandem intra-arterial chemotherapy. So IAC definitely makes a difference for group D and E and for larger recurrences. Now, coming to vitreous seeds, these still remain a challenge even after the advances in chemotherapy. So what is new here? Well, they're no longer just vitreous seeds, but we call them seeds in retinoblastoma. They include the classic vitreous seeds as well as the anterior segment ones, which include depository and infiltrative. But with OCT, we have been able to classify them further into prehyaloid, subhyaloid, epiretinal, intraretinal, and subretinal seeds. So how do we treat these? Well, we have intravitreal chemotherapy. So intravitreal melphalan has been used extensively and still remains the drug of choice in the West. But in Indian eyes, we have seen that there's a lot of toxicity, including, you see here, the retinal pigment epithelial atrophy, as well as uveitis and cataract. We have found that topotecan works equally well, if not better, with better bioavailability and fewer injections required. So the mean injections required are 3 as compared to 5 with melphalan, and it is much more gentle to the eye. So we use a 30 microgram regimen 3 weekly, unlike melphalan, which requires weekly injections. So it's much more comfortable for the patient. These are just some of the examples where whether it is vitreous cloud, spheres, or dust, they all respond well. However, there are still some seeds which remain refractory to this, and in which case we can give tandem intravitreal chemotherapy with the addition of melphalan, but at a lower dose. So this prevents the toxicity, but is quite effective. Earlier, we had reported a success rate of 100%. Currently, this is at 97% because we have expanded it to be used in more advanced cases. Additionally, intravitreal chemotherapy can be used for both infiltrative as well as depository anterior chamber seeds. For depository ones, we can use intracameral at a dose of 5 micrograms. Additionally, plaque brachytherapy can be added to it for the ciliary body tumors. Also, when we have diffuse and confluent subretinal seeds where the main tumor has regressed, intravitreal topotecan works very well and without the need for laser TTT, and so the retina can actually be preserved, thereby optimizing visual outcome. So probably at this stage, we can see that we have finally conquered the retinoblastoma seeds. Now, enucleation is still required for advanced cases. Of course, a long optic nerve is of paramount importance, but what is important is the after enucleation stage, because the pathology of the tumor is extremely important. Here we find that nearly 50% of the children, they have histopathological risk factors. Now, if we don't treat them, then this landmark study that was published earlier showed that we are actually sealing the fate of 24% of the children to metastasis and therefore death. But if we treat them with adjuvant therapy, this can be reduced to just 4%. Now, so it's important to remember that enucleation is not the end. If I can just take a few more seconds, I'll just complete it.
Please, go ahead.
So orbital retinoblastoma has a newer classification in these following types. Now, orbital retinoblastoma, in spite of exenteration as well as EBRT, had very high mortality. But currently what we follow is multimodal treatment. So we begin with high-dose chemotherapy. After 3 to 6 cycles, we repeat the radio imaging, and if the extraocular component has resolved, we go ahead with enucleation. Usually the eye goes into phthisis and a safe surgery can be performed. But following this, we have to treat the child with adjuvant EBRT and complete the high-dose chemotherapy for 12 cycles. This has improved the survival to 90%. Of course, we do put in a primary implant. Even if EBRT is planned, we avoid an integrated implant but put in a non-integrated one. Custom ocular prosthesis is important to ensure the cosmesis for these patients. So even orbital RB now has a cure. And just to summarize, with all these treatment modalities, finally, life salvage has improved to 98%, eye salvage to 90%, and vision salvage to 90%. So just to conclude, retinoblastoma management is complex, but we have all the tools available with us. We just need to select the right one at the right time. These are all cost-effective ones, and we can mirror the salvage rates which are there in the West. So they definitely live and see. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mithika. That was a very wonderful presentation and complete overview of retinoblastoma. And I think you have taken the trend of marking with a pen from your mentor, Dr. Santosh, on our